So let's talk about building alignment. This is interesting because a lot of leaders understand how important it is to build alignment. Alignment is getting everybody kind of, we have a saying of get everyone on the same page, or singing from the same songbook. You want everyone focused on the same thing. That's what building alignment is about. And a lot of leaders understand that it's really important to do this, but they don't know how to do it very well. And as a matter of fact, we looked at, when we looked at alignment, we understood we were trying to get at people who, effective leaders, have very crisp messages. So they're very clear in their messaging. They create dialogue with their followers, and they provide inspiration. So we wondered, why is it that people don't do this very well? We know it's important, right? And we thought about, well, do people actually get trained in alignment? So we asked the question, in your leadership development, how much training or guidance have you had in the area of alignment? Has anyone ever gone to alignment school? Probably not. Or taken a class just on alignment? No, we know it's important, but we tend not to focus on building alignment. And like you, most people in our study have had none or just a little bit of formal training on alignment. But it's so important. This is the one area when we look at our database of everyone who has responded to the Work of Leaders assessment, alignment is the one area with the lowest scores. The lowest scores. So what does it take to build alignment? Number one, it takes clarity. Clarity is when a leader actually can explain what it is that we're doing. And you have to explain it very clearly. It can't be a big, long, windy story that nobody can follow. It's helpful if it's bullet points or just 3 things. And it also really helps if you explain the rationale or the reason behind what you're doing. There was a Harvard researcher by the name of Ellen Langer, and she did a study back when photocopiers were not readily available. Does anybody remember that? You're too young. We used to have to go to public places to use a photocopier. Anybody remember that? So now it's like the TSA line, the security line in the airport when you wait in line to go through security. Well, Dr. Langer did a study where there was a long line or queue of people waiting, and she went up to the very first person in line and she said, "Excuse me, I need to make some copies. Can I go ahead of you?" "Excuse me, I need to go ahead of you." How many people would let her go ahead? In the study, 64% of the people said, "Sure, go ahead." Now in Finland, it would probably be higher than that because you're so polite. Yeah, 0. That's not what I heard. 64% of the people said, "Sure, go ahead." But she did the experiment a second time, and this time she gave a reason for wanting to go ahead. She said, "Excuse me, I need to make 5 copies. May I go ahead of you?" It went to 90% of the people said, "Sure, go ahead." Simply because she gave them her reason. I'm in a rush. Who's not in a rush? But she gave them the rationale. And that's important because as leaders, when we are moving forward with something, a lot of times we forget to explain to people why it is we're going there. In our case study this morning, why was it that they were investing in customer service training? Every employee, I suspect that every employee knew what they were doing and why they were doing it. So make sure as a leader that you're explaining to people the reason or the rationale behind what you're doing, because they're going to be much more likely to follow you and to be on board with you. The next thing that's important when it comes to leadership and building alignment is dialogue. Now, dia means 2, but it's not one person talking and the other person listening. That's not dialogue. Dialogue actually means the exchange of perspectives, the exchange of ideas. And leaders understand that to get alignment, you have to let people ask questions. You have to have town hall meetings so people can feel like they're part of this. You have to let them express their ideas and their attitudes towards something. You have to let them offer suggestions. That's sharing perspectives. And a lot of leaders just think, you know what, this is where we're going. I'm going to tell people where we're going, and they're all going to follow me. And sometimes when you look behind you, you don't have anybody following you. Well, then you're not leading. So we have to make sure as leaders that we're creating the opportunity for exchanging perspectives to build alignment around that vision. And then the third thing that happens when we talk about alignment is the ability to inspire your followers. Yeah, that's a wedding ring. So there's a psychologist, researcher by the name of John Gottman. And I know you're thinking, well, what does this have to do with leadership? But if you think about it, there's a relationship here, right? So John Gottman did a study where he actually videotaped couples interacting with one another, and he watched 3 minutes of the video. 3 minutes, that's all he watched. And after 3 minutes of watching this couple interact with one another, he could predict with 90% accuracy whether that couple would stay together or split. 90% accuracy. Anybody here in a relationship? Okay, would you like him to videotape you and your partner? I'm thinking no. But what he was looking for, what was his secret? All he was looking for was a ratio of positive exchanges to negative exchanges of 5 to 1. So 5 positive exchanges, comments, complimenting, saying nice things, to 1 negative comment, and he predicted that that couple would stay together. If it was anything less than that, he predicted that couple would be divorced or split. Now, you're probably not married to the people that you work with, the people, your followers, but they might quit the company. They might resign and leave the company, right? Or worse yet, they might quit and stay. They might quit, but stay working there. And that's worse than somebody leaving your organization or your company. So as a leader, we have to make sure that we're providing inspiration by giving people the encouragement that they need. Leaders need to have a ratio of encouraging comments to directing and telling and redirecting of 5 to 1. Think about it. What's your ratio? I have to work on this. I know that my ratio with my team is not always 5 to 1 unless I'm really working on it. So here we have alignment. So this is building alignment. We've talked about a couple of the best practice behaviors. We talked about clarity, explaining the rationale with copier, or the TSA line. It works for both. I've duplicated that research. We talked about exchanging perspectives in a dialogue, and we've talked about being inspiring by being encouraging. So again, in your assessment, you're going to have 1 page for each one of these things with the continua for these best practice behaviors. And if your score is on the right, then you seem to do that fairly well. If your dot is on the left, then you have some work to do because you want to come over to the right. The right is right. The right is correct. The right is the best place to be. So you have 1 page for clarity. You have 1 page for dialogue. Page 14 is for dialogue. And page 15 is for inspiration. So as you think about your leadership and what you're doing with your followers, think about, where are you? What are you doing to build alignment in your organization? Are you keeping track of things? Are you helping people understand where it is you're going? Again, in our case study, that's how Elko became a great place to work, is they do this well. They clearly do this well. People are aligned with their vision. Everybody from people who are stocking the shelves to people who are doing customer service to the marketing people, they are all aligned. They're all working towards the same goal.